We treat the changing of seasons as a mere calendar event, completely blind to the fact that summer is a profound biological window of opportunity engineered to restore our vital human ecosystem. The uncomfortable truth is that modern life has conditioned us to live in a state of perpetual winter, trapped in chronic exhaustion, digital numbness, and survival-driven routine. We sacrifice our natural energy, our joy, and our capacity for genuine human connection just to keep pace with an unsustainable baseline. But science reveals that alignment with this season isn't a luxury or a vacation. It is a critical physiological reset button. If we do not urgently change how we utilize this temporal window, shifting from passive exhaustion to an intentional, scientifically backed restoration of our vitality, we aren't just wasting a few months of sunshine. We are choosing to run our lives on empty, systematically burning out the very engines of our happiness and fulfillment. Human beings were never designed to live in isolation from the natural environment that sustains them. We have spent centuries building indoor societies, mistakenly believing we can outsmart our own biology with artificial light and rigid routines. This deep solar disconnection disrupts the circadian rhythms that regulate our mood, clarity, and drive. Aligning our daily behavior with the natural light of summer is the fundamental first step to reclaiming our psychological baseline. When we intentionally step into the sun, we signal to our brain that it is time to thrive. This simple realignment resets our internal clock, flooding our system with vitality. We have conditioned ourselves to believe that every hour must be optimized for production, completely ignoring our psychological need for play. Unstructured joy is not a reward for hard work. It is the vital mechanism that keeps the human brain flexible, creative, and resilient. By treating life as a series of rigid tasks, we create a severe play deficit that rapidly dulls our cognitive longevity. Reclaiming time for unscripted play during this season is an essential psychological reset for the adult mind. When we engage in experiences purely for the joy of doing them, we actively lower chronic stress and spark neuroplasticity. True happiness is never a solitary achievement. It is a byproduct of the deep, meaningful bonds we forge within our social ecosystem. In our hyper-connected digital world, we have mistakenly substituted superficial online interactions for real, present human contact. This psychological isolation starves our minds of the genuine empathy and shared experiences required to feel truly safe and fulfilled. Rebuilding our psychological health requires us to step away from the screens this summer and intentionally invest in face-to-face relationships. When we sit across from someone fully present and engaged, our brains release the neurochemicals that build deep trust and long-term emotional resilience. Our minds are drowning in an artificial ecosystem of constant notifications, algorithmic feeds, and digital noise that keeps our nervous systems on perpetual high alert. We were never psychologically designed to navigate this endless stream of simulated reality, which systematically fractures our focus and depletes our mental reserves. By remaining perpetually plugged into the digital grid, we unconsciously force our brains into a chronic state of hypervigilance. Immersing ourselves in the natural world is the ultimate psychological antidote to this digital exhaustion. When we step outside the grid, our neurological baselines instantly begin to recalibrate, shifting from strained concentration to effortless biological restoration. We often mistake passive exhaustion for actual recovery, falsely believing that doing absolutely nothing is the best way to recharge a depleted mind. When we finish a demanding week and collapse onto a couch to mindlessly stare at a screen, we are not resting. We are merely anesthetizing our nervous system. This passive inertia leaves our psychological engine sluggish, completely failing to restore the deep neural energy reserves required for true fulfillment. Choosing strategic biological renewal means shifting our perspective from mindless escape to intentional, active restoration. Summer offers the perfect seasonal canvas for active rest, whether it is a dynamic walk in nature, a swim, or engaging in a physical hobby that demands our full presence. These mindful, active choices stimulate our biology, flushing out cognitive fatigue and replacing it with sustainable vitality. We recharge our psychology through a meaningful change of state, not a total cessation of movement. The ultimate failure of most personal resets is that we treat them as finite projects with an expiration date rather than the start of an infinite journey. We look at summer as a brief, temporary escape from an otherwise exhausting reality, counting down the days until we must inevitably return to our stressful indoor baselines. This finite mindset completely undermines our psychology because it forces us to live in a perpetual cycle of temporary recovery, followed by inevitable burnout. When we view health, joy, and vitality as seasonal luxuries, we train our minds to accept chronic depletion as our default human state. True psychological transformation happens only when we choose to turn these seasonal practices into an unshakable permanent foundation for how we live. The science of human vitality doesn't stop working when the calendar turns. The need for natural light, unstructured play, and deep human connection remains constant throughout our entire lives. By intentionally integrating these habits into our daily routines, long after the season ends, we shift our internal baseline from mere survival to sustainable thriving. Protecting our energy and happiness becomes an ongoing commitment to our own humanity, transforming a brief summer reset into a lifelong framework for fulfillment.